So would you please welcome up with his speech, Always Look to New Beginnings, Rene de Silva, with Always Look to New Beginnings.
Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, I must have a confession to make straight off the bat. When I received my manuals and I looked through them to see what would be the first speech that Mr. Matt Downs, our Toastmaster, had so kindly put me down for at our last meeting, I was a little bit nervous, to be perfectly honest with you. It was the icebreaker, and which means you're talking about yourself, which leaves me a little bit uncomfortable at times, for the reason being, more so, is that I always wonder, is there anything that I can tell that will actually be exciting enough to the audience? It always worries me, would it come off as a little bit boring perhaps? And this was worrying me. So I sat down and I thought about it, and I had my pen ready, and in about an hour and a half time, all I'd succeeded in doing was chewing off the end of my pen. I don't think I had one word down on paper. Nonetheless, I thought to myself, and I said, Rene, just tell him the truth. Just go out there, just tell him the truth. So here I am, as I stand before you this evening, to tell you the whole truth. Unlike Lance Armstrong, it's going to be the whole truth. No doubt. Okay. My story goes back to, well, actually, it leaves these shores and it goes overseas. That's where I was born, and that's where I grew up. In the Middle East, no less, of all countries, of all places on the earth. So I spent my childhood, my formative years over there in a place that you could imagine, which was quite different to anything we'd be accustomed to in our country over here. Culture-wise, weather-wise, in any way you can imagine, it's very, very different. God, I can still remember those, let's call them autumn days, where you'd have 50-degree Celsius temperatures in the shade. Yeah, they were pretty tough days. Growing up over there, eventually there came a point in our family's life where we could not remain there anymore. Cut the long story short, and we ended up moving down to Australia over here about 10 years ago, where we've been ever since. Now, when I finished my schooling out here in the Australian school system, I was stuck. I was really, really stuck. And what I mean by that was, what now, what next? I hadn't really thought about my future. There wasn't much that interested me at the time. Nothing that I was seriously passionate about that I thought about at the time. And I was really, really struggling. I thought up a few options here and there. I contemplated joining the army, for example. Eventually, what I ended up settling down on was doing a diploma in aerospace engineering. Yeah, it sounds fancy, but it was not. So I started out on that. And I would like to actually give you an example of my ability to engineer stuff. For example, on a Monday, I was presented with a block of steel. All of us in the classroom were. Now, if you cast your imaginations, it's about the size of your palm. It's about yay size. It's a block of steel. It's square shaped. You gotta cut a bit of it, you gotta drill a bit of it, and you gotta file a bit of it. I think it's just to show that you could competently use some basic tools. So this is me and my block of steel. So I cut, I drill, get it on file, all by hand, start filing away at it. Work on it for a fair bit of time, or what seems to me to be a fair bit of time. Pick it up, look at it, under the lights. It's got to be perfectly square, perfectly flat. So there I am, looking at my block of steel, and it just so happens that the right side's a bit lower here than the left side. That's not even. Anyway, back in the clamps, file again, off you go. This time, let's see how it goes. Pick it up over there. Ah, we don't have that problem anymore. The right side's fine, it's just that the left side's a bit lower than the right side. Okay then, back in the clamps, files out over here, away we go, filing away. By Friday, 5 p.m. Bear in mind that started on Monday, 9 a.m. Pick it up over here. Alright, this has got to work. Under the lights. Well, the right sides, good. Left sides, good. Front and back, good. But the center, I don't know if this is physically even possible, but I'd somehow made the center a bit lower than the sides with the file. How does that happen? I mean, how does that happen? Well, to this day, I do not have an answer. If you guys could assist with that, that would be much appreciated. So what I did was place that block of wood, a block of steel, excuse me, and file on the table, stepped away, walked out of the hangar, and never went back. And that's how I learned that I was just not cut out for engineering. But as I say, when one door shuts, another one does open, or thereabouts as the saying go. Therefore, I went back to something that I did enjoy a bit of. My first love, if you will, which was sport. Honestly, a big fan. First thing to do, get the newspapers, or is it the internet blogs now, or the websites these days? Does anyone still read newspapers? I remember as a kid growing up, always in the newspaper, back page, straight away, first thing, read it all the way into the center, editorials, and finally finish with the front page news. So I started out a exercise and science sport degree at university, with the view to being an exercise scientist. Cutting another long story short again, what I ended up doing was working in the fitness industry. It was a small beginning. From there onwards, I went onwards to running my own business, which I did for a number of years from humble beginnings. And at this point, as I stand in front of you, I am at the start line of another career, having sold my business and looking to move into coaching and teaching within my industry, which I have no doubt that Toastmasters will help along the way. What I've learned through all of this is, in life, you always have to look forwards to new beginnings. Mr. Toastmaster.